Hurricane Melissa has cut a devastating path across the Caribbean, leaving Jamaica reeling from one of the strongest storms ever recorded and bringing heavy flooding to eastern Cuba as it continues to barrel north. The storm made landfall in Jamaica as a Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds around 185 miles per hour, tying historic records for Atlantic landfalls. Officials in Jamaica declared a full disaster zone, noting massive damage to infrastructure, homes, and power grids. In eastern Cuba, Melissa arrived as a major hurricane, delivering excessive rain, storm surge, and flash flooding as thousands evacuate and brace for prolonged disruption. The intensity of Melissa's ramp up was breathtaking. From a tropical storm earlier in the week, it intensified rapidly, gaining strength over warm Caribbean waters and reaching its peak just as it approached Jamaica. Its slow movement over mountainous terrain meant rainfall totals could soar to over 30 or 40 inches in spots, dramatically increasing the risk of landslides and flash floods. The U.S. National Hurricane Center warned that the combination of extreme rainfall, steep terrain, and deforested slopes posed a grave threat for the islands in its path. In Jamaica, the southwestern parish of St. Elizabeth was hit especially hard. Roads turned to rivers, trees and power poles were snapped like twigs, and entire communities were placed underwater. More than 500,000 people lost power, and the country's infrastructure was described as overwhelmed. The prime minister stated bluntly, "There is no infrastructure in the region that can withstand a Category 5. Airports, hospitals, and emergency shelters were all impacted, and the full human and economic toll is still emerging." Meanwhile, Cuba moved quickly to evacuate residents in the provinces of Granma, Santiago de Cuba, Guantanamo, and Holguin. As Melissa approached, the country anticipated up to 25 inches of rainfall and storm surges of 8 to 12 feet along the southeast coast. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel warned that the storm could become one of the most severe, possibly the strongest to hit eastern Cuba. The combination of wind, rain, and surge posed an enormous threat to a region already vulnerable due to terrain and limited infrastructure. The Caribbean experience with Melissa is a stark reminder of how climate change is nudging the bounds of what was once possible. Higher sea surface temperatures fuel stronger storms, slower storm motion means heavier rainfall, and coastal development in vulnerable zones increases exposure. Scientists caution that islands like Jamaica and Cuba are facing an outsized share of risk as extreme weather becomes more frequent and intense. Historically, hurricanes have battered the region, but what sets Melissa apart is its record tying intensity, the scale of rainfall expected, and the cascading hazards: wind damage, flooding, landslides, storm surge, infrastructure failure. For Jamaica, the breadbasket parish of St. Elizabeth, underwater signals not just a weather event, but a blow to food security and livelihoods. For Cuba, the mountains of the southeast and aging infrastructure elevate the threat of cascading disaster. Roads cut off, power lost, rescue delayed. The recovery challenges will be immense. Both islands will need rapid assessment of damage, clearing of debris, restoration of power and water, and delivery of aid to cut off communities. Logistics in the wake of such storms are always a race against time, with roads blocked by mudslides, helicopter or boat access may be required, and disease risk rises when systems fail. For the wider world, the storm is a call to action. It exposes vulnerabilities in global disaster preparedness, raises questions about resilience investment, and highlights the need for international cooperation in climate adaptation. As Melissa moves toward the Bahamas and Bermuda, the warnings remain in effect. This episode is not over, and the ripple effects will be felt for weeks and months. We follow breaking news, so follow us and subscribe to stay current.